Hello and welcome back, everyone. Quick little short take here. Will's heard me say this a couple times. I think I said it maybe 6 months or so for the first time, and it's just a little saying called "liberation by limitation." And I first saw this in a Michael Batnick blog. He was writing about some song from 30, 40 years ago where this kind of idea was in the song. And when I heard that for the first time, it really changed my life in a way. It's like how liberating it is from a day-to-day basis to limit yourself, limit your choices, limit your options, limit the things you have to do. And the more limiting you can be with your time and energy and focus, the more focused you are on those things you do decide to do. So liberation by limitation is pinned on my note sheet in my notes app. So I see that as a nice reminder from time to time. And, this picture that we're showing is kind of an example of that. And what we see in our everyday life is a lot of DIY. And, there are some cases where that makes sense. I'm talking my own book here, but I just think most of the time it doesn't. I think that there's enough information to make people feel like they can get there. But what I've noticed super recently even is that they can get there, they can't cross the finish line. Getting that last little bit of information and detail and that little bit of art that goes with the science of, dollars and cents often gets missed. And so, what this picture is to show is to delegate these super important things, to limit, yourself, to say, I'm not that person. I'm going to be who I am. I'm not going to be my tax person. I'm not going to be my, financial planner or my estate planner. And how liberating it can be to delegate these things to other people. So what do you think, Will?
Yeah, I love that saying. It's very, very powerful, and especially looking at this picture, we run into this all the time. People that are just stressed by working a full-time job that they're very, very good at, right? And that they know a lot about and that they do a lot. Raising a family, right? I mean, that takes so much time as well. And then on top of that, trying to make the correct tax, estate, investment, financial planning decisions, on their own, it just seems kind of like an impossible task, depending on how busy you are and your skill level. But it definitely just speaks to the power of not having to do it all yourself, freeing up your time, freeing up that stress, which then ultimately brings better decisions, right? I mean, you think about a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, right? I mean, they are not doing everything, all the research. They're not doing all of that themselves. They're looking at the big picture, taking in the advice from the people around them, and then choosing the best route forward that they believe is true for that company. Same thing that goes for your family life. I mean, you are the CEOs of your family, right? And you need people around you giving you advice, telling you the best, couple options or couple paths forward and the outcomes of those decisions that you may make so that you can make a completely informed decision. And again, not have to do all the research and investment decisions, not having to look up every rule and regulation and know everything about the broader world and about the economy. So very, very powerful saying. I love that saying. It also just speaks to not putting too much on your plate at one time. It doesn't even have to revolve in the world of finance, but just simply understanding your limitations, focusing in on what you're really, really good at, and delegating the rest. Those are the best outcomes that we see for families, is just dialing in, being laser focused on your income, your job, doing the best you can to provide for your family. And then the decisions that come with having the wealth and the money, it's easy to let an expert, kind of advise you and let you know some different options that may come with having those opportunities.
Yeah, I'll give a couple real world examples. So the first one is, obviously, like I did a real estate little venture there a few years back with a good college friend of mine and his dad. And we bought a property in Texas and we did really, really well on it. I mean, we made really good money. It was a great investment. But God, did it take a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of focus. It complicated me from a week to week basis. It complicated my taxes. It was more liberating to me to say, you know what? I'm not going to also have real estate holdings, and I'm not also going to be, this side hustle guy. I'm going to focus on what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it really, really well. And when I'm done with that, I'm done with that. And I can go give something else my full time and attention. So that was a big one for me. And then I'll use one for both of us. And that's the decision we made 12 months ago, to not go to a 2-location office and try to expand and grow and recruit and try to help everyone. At least I'd love your opinion. I feel so much more liberated by saying, we are going to limit ourselves to, one office, one team, one focus, give everything we can to our existing clients. We don't have to help everybody. We're just going to go all in on helping the folks that want to work with us, not trying to change everybody's mind. Wow, has that been both personally and professionally the easiest, the best decision I've ever made in my life. My relationship with my family is so much better, our team relationship, our time, the hours worked, and then in turn, what we're now delivering back to our clients is so much better, because we have limited ourselves to what our core competency really is.
Yeah, that's definitely a really, really great real world example, is not trying to stretch yourself too thin, and the results, are actually better than if you complicated things, right? If you just laser focus on one thing, typically that outcome becomes better than trying to stretch your focus across many different domains. You ultimately end up not giving the correct amount of focus to any of those, right? If you stretch yourself too thin, you're probably making not as great decisions across all of those domains, versus laser focusing on one, making the best decision, giving all of your time and energy to that one thing. And you can see, at least in our experience, the growth and the relationships and what we've been able to deliver to the clients has been very, very good.
Yep. I'd encourage everyone to do it. I'm not big on giving, personal advice. I'm gonna stick to the financial advice, but give it a shot. Just say, I'm going to cut this one thing out of my life and see if it makes you feel any better. And if 6, 8, 10 weeks down the road, it doesn't, then you can always bring it back. But try it. Try to focus on what your core competency is, and let some of that other stuff go, and see if you can't find more efficiency that way. So good stuff, Will. Appreciate the time. Appreciate everybody watching. We hope you have a great rest of your week.